Have you ever felt like your life was being invaded by someone? Someone who wants to control everything, from the tiniest details to the most personal aspects of your privacy that should be protected? Well, this is my story, and I believe if you've ever felt unfairly treated, you'll understand and relate to what happened. This all started when I moved into a quiet neighborhood in Austin, Texas. Everything was perfect: a modest house, a private backyard, and most importantly, a custom matte black McLaren that I proudly owned. It was my pride, my escape, my reward after years of hard work. My life was simple: no supervision, no rules tying me down, and of course, my car only cruised slowly around the neighborhood, peaceful, like an integral part of my life's picture. But then, the most unexpected thing happened. One day, I received a letter from the Homeowners Association, HOA. It wasn't an invitation to a weekend barbecue or a notification about an upcoming meeting. No, this was a threat, a demand. They ordered me to remove my pool, threatening fines, and even eviction if I didn't comply. Why? Because my pool, a part of my private backyard I had carefully built, was deemed inappropriate for the neighborhood's aesthetic standards. And that was just the beginning. What happened next will leave you speechless about how far some people will go to control others. It was time to make a choice: stay quiet or stand up and fight back. Stick around to find out how I turn the tables on these power-hungry control freaks. After receiving the letter from the HOA, I was left in a state of disbelief. At first, I couldn't fathom that anyone would be so bold as to try and dictate what I could or couldn't do on my own property. I read the letter over and over, convinced it had to be a mistake. How could they demand that I drain my pool? I wasn't violating any laws, and according to the deed to my property, I wasn't even under their jurisdiction. My lot was outside the HOA's boundaries, clearly stated in the documents I'd received when I purchased the house. Yet here they were, acting as if they owned me and my property. I immediately grabbed my phone and called the HOA office. I needed to talk to someone, anyone, who could explain how this could happen. The response I got wasn't helpful. They told me that I'd have to wait for their next monthly meeting to address the issue. So, with no other choice, I marked my calendar, grabbed all the paperwork, and prepared for the fight ahead. I wasn't going to let this go without a proper explanation. The HOA meeting arrived, and I walked into the community center, feeling like I was walking into a lion's den. The room was filled with elderly neighbors who looked as though they would rather be anywhere else. There, at the front, was Miranda Hayes, sitting at the head of the table like she owned the entire room. She was dressed in a blazer, her posture rigid, and she wore an expression that seemed to say, "I run this place, and everyone better follow my rules." When it was my turn, during the public comments, I stood up and walked to the podium. My heart was racing, but I kept my voice steady as I presented my case. I laid out all the documents: my property deed, the plot map, the purchase agreement. I made it clear that my property was not part of the HOA. I was outside their jurisdiction, and this whole demand was based on a mistake. Miranda barely glanced at the papers. She didn't care about the facts. With a dismissive wave of her hand, she said, "Your pool is visible from community homes. It disrupts our uniform aesthetic. You'll need to comply or face consequences." I felt the blood rush to my face as I pushed back. "I'm not draining my pool. I'm not breaking any laws. Your rules don't apply to me." Her eyes narrowed, and she leaned forward. "Don't force us to make an example of you," she said, her tone now dripping with thinly veiled threat. I left the meeting, but I wasn't done. I had warned them that any fines or legal threats would lead to serious action. They didn't take me seriously, and that's when things started to spiral. Every day, I received more violation notices. First, it was a letter demanding I remove my pool. Then, they claimed I owed $500 a day for non-compliance. Next came anonymous phone calls, strange voices warning me to take down my pool or stop ruining the neighborhood. It was creepy, but I wasn't scared. I was angry, and I was ready to fight back. Things escalated when Miranda went too far. She contacted my mortgage lender, spinning lies about code violations and potential liens on my property. The lender called me, confused and concerned. But after I explained the situation and sent them all the proper documents, they assured me that the HOA had no power over me. Still, I realized that being right wasn't enough. Miranda wouldn't stop. She was obsessed. I needed to do something bigger. I wasn't sure how far she'd go. I couldn't just sit back and wait for her next move. That's when I remembered something. Years ago, I'd heard that the HOA's community pool was leased, not owned. I decided to look into it further. A quick trip to the county office confirmed it. The land under the pool was leased from a developer, and the lease was about to expire in a year. I contacted Tom, the semi-retired developer, who owned the land, and we met for lunch. I laid out the situation, and he was sympathetic. He'd been at odds with the HOA for years, having lowballed him on past lease renewals. He told me the exact expiration date of the lease and entertained my idea of leasing the land myself. After some negotiation, I asked, "Would you sell it outright?" His eyes lit up. For the right price, he was willing to sell. That was the moment everything changed. While Miranda was busy sending fake fines and spying on me through my fence, I was busy negotiating a deal that would not only stop her, but take away the thing she valued most, the community pool. I kept everything quiet. I didn't attend the HOA meetings, didn't respond to their threats. The more I stayed silent, the more desperate Miranda became. Her letters grew more aggressive, her phone calls more insistent. She was digging herself into a hole, and I was ready to pull the rug out from under her. When I finally closed the deal with Tom and the land was officially mine, I sent the HOA a termination notice for their pool lease. Hours later, I received a flurry of phone calls and emails from their legal team, claiming I had been scammed. I laughed it off. They could say whatever they wanted, but the truth was undeniable. I owned the land now, and they had no say in it. Later that evening, I had a crew rush to build a 6-foot privacy fence around the pool, with no trespassing signs and a keypad-locked gate. Miranda, of course, showed up the next day, banging on the gate and demanding to speak to the property manager. I strolled out to meet her. "That's me," I said. She shrieked, "This is HOA land." I smirked. "No, it's not. You didn't renew the lease. I bought it. Check the county records." Miranda threatened to sue. I shrugged. "Go ahead. My lawyer's ready." After everything seemed to settle down, I thought it was over. I had won. My pool was still intact, and Miranda's reign was over. But life, as it always does, had other plans. Miranda didn't just lose. She caused a ripple effect that spread throughout the entire community. Some neighbors stood by me, while others felt the loss of the community pool. Many had moved to this neighborhood with the expectation of having access to that pool, and now they felt betrayed and frustrated. They had paid for those community pool fees for years, and now that it was gone, they were left without the very thing they had signed up for. I felt a pang of responsibility. While I wasn't the one who started this mess, I felt like I had a duty to do something. Most of the people in the neighborhood had been caught in the crossfire of the HOA's power play, and now they were left without the one thing that many of them had moved here for. One afternoon, I decided to invite a few of the neighbors over for a small get-together. I wanted to check in, see how people were feeling, and talk about what could be done to rebuild some of the community trust that had been broken. As I opened my backyard to them, I noticed how much they appreciated the pool. Yes, it was mine now, but I could see how much the others missed having a shared space where families could gather, relax, and bond. We had a few drinks, shared stories about how things used to be, and talked about the future. One of the neighbors, Sarah, spoke up. "You've shown us how to stand up to the HOA. Now maybe we can all work together to fix things." She was right. My battle wasn't just about me anymore. It was about all of us. Together, we could create a stronger, more united neighborhood. But then, the HOA sent another letter. This time, it wasn't about removing my pool or sending me fines. Instead, it was a request to lease the land back. They called it a mutually beneficial arrangement, claiming that it could work out for both of us. I paused as I read the letter, wondering if they were truly apologizing or if this was just another attempt to regain control. I thought about it for a while. I had won. The land was mine now, and Miranda and her crew had lost their grip on the neighborhood. The question was, should I let them back in? Would leasing the land back to them mean a compromise? Or would I just be giving them the power to continue with the neighbors who had stood by me? We discussed the letter. There was a lot of mixed opinion. Some felt it might be a chance for reconciliation, to move forward and rebuild what was lost. Others were adamant that we should not give in. The HOA had already shown their true colors, and there was no reason to trust them again. Finally, after much debate, I decided I would not lease the land back. I didn't fight so hard just to give it away. I had made my stand, and I wasn't about to let them undo all the hard work and community support that had come from this battle. But I knew the community needed something. They'd lost the pool they had once enjoyed, and I couldn't just leave them with nothing. So, I made a decision. I would open my pool to the residents. It wouldn't be public, but I'd invite families to use it on weekends, host barbecues, and ensure that the neighborhood felt connected again. I would use my own resources to bring some joy back to the community, even if the HOA couldn't be trusted to do so. This story isn't just about fighting for personal rights. It's about the power of persistence, justice, and community. In life, we often encounter people who try to impose control over us, those who seek to manipulate and dominate to achieve their own goals. But the key takeaway is that we should never let them take control of our lives. When you stand up for your rights, not just for yourself, but for those around you, you'll realize that true victory isn't always about defeating an enemy. It's about making everyone in your community feel valued and protected. We also learn the immense power of unity and support from those around us. No matter how right you are, without the support of others, the battle becomes much more difficult. It was the connection and determination that helped Ethan not only defend his rights, but also create positive change within his community. Ultimately, This story reminds us that no matter how hard, unfair, or challenging life may seem, when we take the right action at the right moment, we never have to regret it. Sometimes, victory is not the only goal. What matters more is how we act and the positive changes we create for ourselves and the people around us. Remember, sometimes doing the right thing requires a fight, but in the end, it's worth it to bring about real change for the better. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people discover these amazing stories. If you think this journey is one others should hear, share this video with your friends and family. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below with your own experiences or what you'd do if you were in Ethan's shoes. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another incredible story like this. Thanks for watching. Let's keep the conversation going.